I will hand over to Representative Anthony, and let's hear from her.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for Michigan United and for my colleagues who literally said everything I wanted to say. Um, when 2020 was over, many of us had a big sigh of relief. We knew that it was just a different date on the calendar. When January 1st hit and it was 2021, we were going to start a new leaf. Many of us made resolutions, have smaller waistlines, that we would eat a little less, move a little more, have priorities, spend time with family. We thought that fundamentally things would just be a little different. And we find ourselves tackling the same issues. I find myself calling and checking on my colleagues at the federal level and here in Michigan to make sure they're okay. I find myself getting calls from my parents and my nieces and nephews, making sure that I'm okay, that the security system that we had to install at the house is working okay, making sure that our new incoming freshmen have bulletproof vests that they can wear underneath their garments before we go into the Capitol for opening day. Many of us, as we're thinking about our seat selection on the House floor, are often thinking about where's the nearest exit. In the event that something pops off in our state capitol, again, calendar has changed to a new year. We continue to grapple with these same issues. I think about, and my heart is heavy, when I think about my colleagues who have spent months and months receiving threats of violence to themselves and their families. I think about the community that I represent, Lansing, which is home to the state capitol, in which on a near daily basis now, we are seeing a demonstration, a protest, that yes, folks have the right to lift up their voices and articulate their issues and perspectives. But we continue to see these demonstrations escalate, become more hateful and divisive. And so I thought that we have a fresh start. And unfortunately, we continue to grapple with the same issues. Now, when representatives who spoke before talked about accountability, I just wanted to bring that back into the limelight, because we have receipts about what we have been doing on a daily basis to fight against this stuff. 13 months ago, I introduced a resolution, House Resolution 180, that essentially would call on Congress to classify domestic terrorism as a federal crime. Now, the Republican-led majority in the House refused to transmit that resolution to Congress, continuing to play politics. And what we saw play out at the US Capitol is the result of their inaction. On May 1st, a day after armed gunmen stormed our Capitol building, I lifted up my voice to the Capitol Commission, put it in writing that we should ban firearms in the Michigan State Capitol. May 1st, we are now at January 7th, 2021, and there has been no action. They have studied this issue. They have questioned whether they have the authority to do anything about this issue. They have discussed the chandeliers, the capital investments, the new Heritage Hall, all of the bells and whistles that can go to make the building beautiful. And they have not done their job in actually addressing firearms in that state capitol building. So as a result, every time we as lawmakers, folks who give tours in that capitol building, the school children that come into that building to decide to, talk about our state's history, they are met with the thought, the ever-present violence that could be inflicted upon them at any moment, because this Capitol Commission has decided not to act. So I think this is the time for us to really think about taking sides. What side are we all going to be on? Are we going to align with our fellow, our men and women in our communities our fellow Michiganders, our fellow Americans, and say enough is enough? Or are we going to align with a president who decides to incite violence and use his office to divide us? Are we going to align with political parties who often get it wrong, who by design are there to play politics and not necessarily look out for the men and women of this state and of this country? Or are we going to do our jobs as elected officials and as community leaders? This is the time. You know, I was frustrated yesterday when, many of the Republicans at the state and national level seemed surprised by what happened in the Capitol building. We know what is coming. We've known what has been coming for months. So to act surprised by these acts of violence is ridiculous. And so here is what my charge is to folks on both sides of the aisle. One, we have to put our parties aside and do the will of the people. We as lawmakers, particularly on the Democratic side, have introduced bill after bill, resolution after resolution. We've testified before the Capitol Commission. We have lifted up the votes. We have seen data. We've seen polling results about these issues. This is not new. And the last thing I will say is this. History is looking at us and who hands will be bloodied at this time. The blood will be on the hands of anyone in any type of power who has a platform, who does not use that platform to lower the temperature, and anyone who does not vote in favor of banning guns in this state Capitol building and holding lawmakers accountable who continue to incite violence. Many of us know that, and you can even look at who is on this call right now, who is on this press conference. These are lawmakers of color. These are individuals who have experienced, some of us firsthand, with domestic terrorism. So we need to get bold and be very specific about what we're dealing with. And ask every single individual in power, will they stand with democracy or with terrorism? And lastly, I will just say this. Next week is opening day. The lawmakers on this call and lawmakers across the state are planning to go into a Capitol building and begin the work of the people. And regardless of our political parties, there is work to be done. And we should not have our safety, our personal safety, the safety of our parents, our children, our spouses at the top of our mind. We have work to do. COVID-19 is still running rampant in our state. Our economy is in shambles. Folks contact our office every single day, wondering how they're going to get their next meal, put food on the table if they're going to have a job this year. There is real work to be done. So we need to get back of the people and spend less time playing party and political partisan games and thinking about the safety of ourselves. People sent me to the Capitol not to wonder if I left my bulletproof vest in my car. They want to make sure that I can lift up my voice and represent their interests. And so I want to stop talking about this stuff and start doing the real work that people in Michigan and across this country care about. Thank you for the time.